Hello everybody and welcome back to Memory Gamma. Today we are going to go into another area of the game which has special sets of rules like our ambassadors. This week we're going to talk about attack squadrons, fighters. Now there is only a handful of these in the game, exactly 3 models, and there is only a handful of different options for them. However, they have made some of the biggest impact to the game out of anything that's been released. They have an enormous amount of special rules about them, most of which are to the benefit. Some of them are downsides, but we will go through that, and I will bring up the 3 types of fighter as well as all the named versions of them, and we'll go through them and have a little talk. I'm not going to go through every single attack squadron upgrade. This is a video on how they work. So things they can do, things they can't do, things that work well, things that counter them, things that they counter. I'm not going to do this is every single card that can go on a fighter squadron, because that's a much longer video, and I'll do those as part of an actual fleet build later on. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to bring up attack squadron here. So there are 3 types of attack squadron. There is the Federation Peregrine class attack squadron here. There is the first wave Hideki attack squadron for the Cardassians, and then there are the Scorpion class attack fighters for the Romulans. The Federations have 3 name versions. The Romulans and the Cardassians have but 1. There was a card pack released which gave you 2 additional named fighter squadrons for the Federation and a load more upgrades. Now, you may notice first of all, I can't select these as a ship. Older players will know this, but obviously for all the newer players or players who aren't quite sure, they don't quite work the same. So I'm going to bring up the rules. Now there are a lot of rules here on the screen, so we're going to go through them one at a time and quickly talk about them. So, they are a normal ship that you buy and cost points and everything like that. However, they can only fire at range 1 to 2. So, no range 3 firing for the attack squadrons under normal circumstances. If they have target lockers in action, they can still perform that out to range 3. That is not affected, but they can only actually make an attack at range 1 to 2. They can be fired at range 3. So that's a bit of a downside. They've got a shorter attack range, but they can still be shot at the full range. Plus, in most cases, they're also a bit slower, which means they'll have to spend a lot of time trying to keep up. They can only be equipped with squadron upgrades, and they cannot have any captain cards, ambassadors, admirals, construction upgrades, nothing. The only thing that can go on attack squadrons is attack squadron upgrades. No resources either. So if you've got a resource that says pick a ship in your fleet, it can't affect a fighter squadron. Instead of having the stats on the ship card, they're printed here because this is what they start at. They have a number of tokens stacked on top, and these tokens have your weapon value, agility, hull and shields, and a captain skill number printed on them. And the way they work is, as the next rule says, when you suffer a hull damage, instead of receiving a damage card, you remove the top token, flip the next one other side up to reveal your stats and your captain skill, and that's the end of the attack. So, no matter how much damage you do, unless you've got a special rule, which again I'll go into in a little bit, when you make an attack against an attack squadron, if you deal damage to its hull, then it removes a token, and that's the end of the attack. You can't do more than 1 token per attack. If they have shields, which the Peregrines and the Scorpions do, every time you get a new token, the shield comes back immediately. Also, they can't suffer critical damage. If you do any crits to them, they're automatically converted to a normal damage. Now, the next rule, number 7, is the reason why I can't put them on. For each attack squadron, there must be a ship with a hull value of 4 or more to be the carrier, the capital ship. So, I can't put these guys in without having a hull 4 ship. So, let's just put on any ship aboard cube, because we're only doing this for the attack squadron. So, attack squadron 6, again, and it also triggers that you have to have 1 per, so that's the only one you can have. So, but I'll bring each one up individually as we go through. And then they can only be affected by opposing effects and the effects of squadron upgrades, friendly or opposing. And they can only affect friendly ships with their squadron upgrades that states they affect friendly ships. So, it's a bit wordy at the bottom there. The last two are probably the most important ones. Number 8 means that the enemy can do whatever they like to them. So from the enemy's point of view, it's a ship. So they say, target an opposing ship. They can target your fighter squadron because it's an opposing ship, even though it's a fighter squadron. Your friendly ability can't go select a friendly ship. So there's a bit of a downside, a bit of a trade-off there. So if someone was to go, an example would be that it is legal for, say, Khan to go superior intellect and steal and target the fighter squadron and steal the upgrade. The upgrade is immediately discarded because it can't be equipped to his ship because it's a fighter upgrade, but it would remove it from the fighter squadron. And of course, only fighter squadrons can only affect other fighter squadrons with their upgrades unless it says target an opposing ship or a friendly ship. So there are certain upgrades that say target a friendly ship at this range, give it this bonus. Perfect, that works. However, your friendly ability, so as it says further up there, so if you've got, say, Commander Denatra, who says all friendly ships at range 1 get a bonus dice, doesn't affect the fighter squadron that's next to her. It's not a friendly ship, it's a conglomeration of ships. So there's a lot of advantages and a lot of disadvantages. So the advantages are these things have built-in cheat death, fundamentally, because each time they would die, their hull goes to 0, they get a new token, they get a little bit weaker in terms of attack power, but they're still alive. You have to kill all the tokens. So on a named fighter squadron, that's 5 tokens. So you have to kill them 5 times. Now it's only 5 damage. You think, oh, it's only 5 damage. 5 separate attacks. Now there can be multiple in one turn. So if you've got someone that allows you to fire twice, say the NX with phase cannons can fire twice every turn, and it can go 2 tokens. One attack one attack another. Then again the next turn, and then the third turn it would destroy them. However, as they get weaker, they get harder to hurt. So the stats start really, really offensive and go down in skill. So they'll start off, the highest for, say, the Peregrines is a 5 attack dice, 0 agility. And it goes down, so it'll go 5-0, 5-0, 4-1, 3-2, and then the final one 2-3 is the way it goes. So every time you lose a point of attack power, generally you gain a point of agility. So in the end, the very final one is usually 3 defense dice, and you've got 2 dice for the Peregrines and the Scorpions, 3 dice for the Hidekis. Now the Hidekis are a bit different to the rest of them. So Federation Fighter Squadron, you've got here, let me just minimise the rules. So they've got evade and target lock as their action. That's it. No battle stations. For a Federation ship, makes them unusual. So 5 attack dice. That's really good. No agility. Well, it's hard to miss a huge swarm of fighters. 1 hull, 1 shield. 3 upgrades and 24 points. So they cost more than several other big ships. You can actually get a 4 hull ship for cheaper than the fighter squadron that accompanies it. Especially these days. I mean, a generic Constitution class comes in at cheaper than that. However, maneuvers, as you can see, yes, very manoeuvrable. 1 hard turn, 2 hard turn, come about to white, 6 green maneuvers, caps at 3. And because you can't target this with friendly abilities and can't have chemosight, you can't boost that in any way. You can't give it a bonus move with a friendly ability. You can't borrow something from a friendly ship. None of those things. So they are going to struggle to keep up. And also 90 forward firing arc. So, you know, swings and roundabouts. They're very, very powerful. The ability on this particular one is also really, really nice. The next one is the... Let's go to the Dominion. Hidekis. Now, the Hidekis, you may know, it said 6 attack dice, so they're even more powerful, but no shields. That's the trade-off. The Hidekis are more potent and stay more potent for longer, but they're a little bit easier to kill because any damage at all takes them off a token rather than having to do 2 damage to the Scorpions and the Peregrines because you've got to kill the shield and the hull point. Now, these can go 4 straight forward, so these are a bit faster. These can keep up with the Galor class. Just about. Galor class can go 5 straight, but these can keep up with most ships. However, only 4 green manoeuvres, not quite as manoeuvrable, and a red come about. So, these are not quite as manoeuvrable in the short range. They're much longer strike fighters. They also have a rear firing arc. Now, these are important because there's a couple of squadron upgrades that can use the rear firing arc. And finally, we have my personal favourite, Scorpion class attack fighters. Now you may notice they only have 4 attack dice, so they are the smallest of the 3 types. They also have the worst manoeuvre dial, as in they've got red hard turns and a red come about at 3, no white hard turns, no 1 come about like the Peregrines, and only 4 green manoeuvres. So they are probably, you know, they are the weakest of the options. They're not bad by any stretch, but they are less statistics and more tactics. So, going back to our rules of the fighter squadrons. So, no captain cards. You see on here, there is no space for a captain card to go on. There's no ambassador slot, no construction upgrade, no nothing. All you can put on this is squadron upgrades. That's it. So, they are fundamentally a small squadron of mini ships, and they're worth a lot more than their points would indicate. So 21 for the Scorpions, 24 for the other 2. They are seriously points efficient because normally if the enemy ship goes, here's 7 damage straight to you, that's enough to cripple or kill most other, you know, a large proportion of enemy ships. You know, 7 damage is going to strip off all of your shields and take a good chunk out of your hull. It's possible if you're an earlier ship that it completely destroys you. Constitution classes, NX era, even early TOS era, and even a few Next Generation era, Oberth, Sabres, Defiance, that sort of stuff. Even a Galaxy is going to be really struggling at that point. They'll only have a couple of points left. So these are perfect for absorbing mega attacks because the enemy can do 10. They could throw a 9 dice stack against you. They're killing 1 token. That's it. So they really, really, really are brilliant at force multipliers. They are much more powerful than just they might appear. You have to kill them multiple times. They're very manoeuvrable. They're able to, you know, absorb damage that would destroy any other ship. And they can give as good as they get for the early points. The later points they become less useful because they get less dice. But there is a squadron weapon upgrade card that can be used to make them effective even when they're on their 2 attack dice version. So, I'm sounding like I'm bigging them up. I very much am. I am a big advocate for attack squadrons. I absolutely love using them. There is, you know, when I do the Unnationals, which is a set of attack wing games run every year up at a games convention here in England. There is a player who generally brings 2 or 3 very, very, very stripped out and bare bones capital ships, and then 2 or 3 fighter squadrons. That can be really, really powerful because, you know, you can put down 5 or 6 ships. Brilliant, that's lots of targets. When 3 of those ships have multiple lives, that's amazing. So they've got like cheat death. Now cheat death is a 5-point talent. These things can do it 4 times and the 5th time kills them. That's 20 points worth of cheat death effectively that these guys have got. And this ship's 21 points. So that's amazingly points efficient for what you get. Now, obviously I'm bigging them all up. There are ways to counter them. And I'm going to look at that with the upgrades over here in the cube. So, we leave it on attack squadron. Nothing tech and weapons. There is a... Oh, let me just remove the Romulan. So there is a crew upgrade that affects them. Hontil, he's a mirror universe. Nothing tech, nothing Borg, Captain, Admiral, none of those. So generally there's only a handful of things you can do in the mostly weapons. So Hontil is a crew upgrade that says when attacking you get +2 dice for a discard. If you targeted an attack squadron, you can make an additional 2 dice attack against them when you've finished. So it might work. However, the main things is there's a handful of weapons. Now it used to be the only thing you got, realistically, was weapon ports and upgraded phasers. We've added a few more since then. Now all of these basically have an ability against attack squadrons, but I will put out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 weapons. In the entire game there are 6 weapons that are specifically targeted on attack squadrons. Now, anything that gives you double attacks, that's also brilliant. So I said phase cannons on an NX, phaser cannons on the Defiant class, additional phaser arrays if you've got additional phaser arrays for multi-firing as well. Anything that gives you bonus attacks is good against fighters because it just means every attack you make can strip a token off. However, these do it as part of the parcel of the actual thing. So, we've got weapon ports. This is the original one. So, you've got 4 dice, you disabled it, and if you hit an attack squadron, during the deal damage step, you discard 1 token for each hit crit result to a max of 3. Now, that didn't matter whether you didn't get through the shields. You fired them at a squadron of peregrines and did, right, I've got 4 dice, I've got 3 damage. They've got a shield each. Doesn't matter. In the deal damage step, you discard 1 attack squadron token for each result. Just discard 1 token. So these are brilliant at stripping tokens away. The modern version of weapon ports is also the same. This weapon ports works against other ships. This one here is only for fighter squadrons. It does no damage. If it hits an attack squadron, discard 1 token per hit crit. Multiple dorsal arrays, which is 365 for a Galor class that allows you to fire twice at attack squadrons. Upgraded phasers, again it's a Federation one that gives you +1 dice and allows you to double tap them. And then Disruptor Volley. Disruptor Volley is no damage, then you get to give them an Orcs power token and then you kill an attack squadron token per hit or crit. They're all the same. The one that's different is Ambush Attack, which is if it hits an attack squadron, you get to disable a squadron upgrade on the defending squadron. That is the only weapon which affects a squadron upgrades. Now, because they can be affected by opposing upgrades, anything which discards upgrades still works, provided it doesn't designate what they have to be. So, for example, you hit them with a biogenic charge, you don't get to convert anything because they've got no crew upgrades to discard. They can't be captain carded, discarded. However, if it just says, this ship, target an enemy ship, they discard 1 upgrade, well, that works because it is an upgrade. So, there is a handful of things you can do. Now, because most of these weapons, Ambush Attack is brilliant all the time, it just has a bonus against attack squadrons. Because weapon ports, Disruptor Volley, and the dorsal arrays are almost exclusively useful against attack squadrons, generally people don't bring them unless they're expecting them. And then more often than not, you'll find them hidden away underneath a Quark or or anything else like that, or a integrated future tech. So they'll be hidden underneath something, which then they can flip over and go, haha, I've got my trump card against you for attack squadrons. Now, attack squadrons do not show up very often. In our current, at the time of recording, our current event, we have 2 out of our 8 players are running attack squadrons. But again, we see almost every event someone runs at least 1 set of them. Usually me, I must admit. So, they are really nice. They are very, very powerful. There is lots of upgrades they can have. So I said, if I reset that, all it comes up with is these. Now, I will point out a couple of cards that work with these guys that change the way that particular ship works. Apart from that, I'm not going to go into detail about every single upgrade. So the first one, Galore class phaser banks. Now yes, that 7 points cost is a terrifying number. However, it's only for the Hidekis. You can fire primary weapon at range 1 to 3 and at +1 dice. So it's 7 points. However, it opens up your Hidekis to fire at range 3 and +1 dice to a max of 6. They already start at 6. Now, range combat bonuses apply as normal, so at range 1 there'll be 7, and at range 3 the enemy will get a bonus defense dice. However, what it means is that while you've got the Galore class phaser banks, your weapon value is always +1 to a max of 6, which means their final token would normally be 3 attack, 3 defense, 1 hull, no shields. With Galore class phaser banks, there are 4 attack dice ships still on 1 token with 3 defense dice. That's scary. Another one is afterwave disruptor cannons, which again, it doesn't have to be equipped to the Hidekis, but they're the only one that can use it on. You can fire primary weapon from your rear firing arc if you disable this card. So now Hidekis have got a rear firing arc that they can fire primary out the rear. Fire your 6 dice, scream past, and then next turn, fire backwards. It just makes up for the Hideki's lack of manoeuvrability. The final one, now there's a couple that add things. Hidden formation and cloaked fighters add cloak and sensor record to the action bar. They are the hidden formation is not locked. Cloaked fighters is locked to the Scorpion class attack fighters. However, you can only sensor echo if you have cloak on the if you have a cloak token as well. So you have to bring both of them if you're going to do one, you do both. And then you've got lead squadron, adds battle stations to the action bar and increases the captain's skill by 2. And the final one I'm going to show, well, 2 more. Everyone's got a support ship. Fundamentally, a support ship is another copy of Cheat Death, but for the final token. The final one is this one, Torpedo Attack. Spend your target lock, 3 time tokens, for 4 dice at range 1 to 2, and you can fire this from your forward or rear firing arcs. So this you bring along with your Peregrines or your Scorpions, because it means that when you've got 1 token left and you're on 2 dice, you've still got a 4-dice attack. Hidekis, not so much, but if you didn't bring the half-wave disruptor cannons, then you could bring these and it still gives you a rear fire shot. So there's lots of ways you can use these, is basically where I'm going with this. So I'll go into more detail when I do a Scorpion build or a Hideki build. I'll do a capital ship and a fighter squadron working in tandem, and I'll do like a Galore with a Hideki, a Scimitar with a Scorpion, and then an Akira or something like that with a set of Peregrines. I'll do a combination fleet as a separate video. So, recap the fighter rules. So, range 1 to 2 only for firing. So, short range. Only have squadron upgrades and can't have captains, which means they're locked to whatever captain skill they've got, barring a few abilities that modify them that they have themselves. Their stats change as the game goes on. As you lose tokens, they get more of AD, but less shooty. Whenever it suffers hull damage, you just remove the token, flip the next one over, attack's over. Unless the weapon specifically says so, only 1 token can be removed per attack, regardless of how much damage is done. When they've got shields, every time you get a new token, the shield comes back up. Yay. They can't suffer critical damage. For each attack squadron you want to bring, you must bring a ship with a hull value of 4 or more. They may only be affected by other squadron upgrades and opposing effects. So an enemy can go target an opposing ship at range 1 to 2. You can target a fighter squadron. Enemy fighter can pick an opposing ship and can target an opposing fighter squadron. Your fighter squadron can only be affected by its own abilities and opposing effects. Friendly ship can't go, it can't be a target for the Intrepid to give it a scan evade, unfortunately. Or Picard to give it a battle stations token. It's not a friendly ship. And they can only affect friendly ships if the upgrade says that it can. So, it looks like they're very much isolated. They don't do a lot in comparison, and a lot, you know, working with friendly ships. But actually, there's an awful lot of mixing and matching, and an awful lot of additional bits that they give, mostly that they give to friendly ships. A lot of their abilities target a friendly ship or target an opposing ship and do something. Because it's all the stuff they would normally do. It's covering fire, it's escorting, it's absorbing damage, it's that sort of thing. So there's a lot of stuff you can do with a fighter squadron. I'm a big advocate of them. So if you've enjoyed listening to me talk about this, then thank you very much. If you want more information about any particular fighter squadron or about a particular rule or card type, then drop me a note in the comment section. I'll get to it. I'll do a video on it. I'm going to try and go through all of the sort of slightly more, you know, obscure or difficult to understand rules. I'll go through some of the new rules that have been brought in, the new action bar actions. I've done ambassadors already. I'll go through some of the other things and just talk about some different rules and how things work. So if you've got any requests, any questions, anything like that, drop them in the comments. Always happy to hear from everyone. And otherwise, thank you very much.